Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cynthia at the Table. I am your host, Cynthia. A year ago, we launched the Cynthia at the Table, or CATT Book Club Corner, to offer a shame-free, unapologetic space and opportunity to ensure we are taking time away from our busy schedules to decompress, dialogue, interact, celebrate, and share some good reads together in a meaningful way, as well as to contribute to the betterment of one another. The bottom line and end result being to elevate our overall well-being and self-care. I am especially excited today, and for two reasons. One, this is our first time coming to the table since the launch of the book club to have a candid conversation about a topic that continues to chronically and sometimes lethally maneuver in silence, and we, especially people of color, must bring this subject to and keep it at the forefront. And two, for our May episode, we are celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month. This is such a critical topic. I have joining me here today for this special episode of our CATT Book Club, my BFF Dolores, and some of my other sister friends and colleagues, Arena and Lori. Ladies, say hello to
Hi.
everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Great, ladies. I also want to take a moment to give a special shout out and thanks to my niece, Marlo Washington, for designing our very nice and blinged CATT Club t-shirts. That's right. We have our very own merch for the CATT Book Club. Thank you, Marlo. I also want to give a shout out to Mulan B for her beauty lipstick. Thanks, Mulan. Now, back to the topic at hand. Our featured book that we will be discussing today is Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen, The Emotional Lives of Black Women by Dr. Inger Burnett-Zeigler, a clinical psychologist and associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Northwestern University. We will be lifting up some of the primary points addressed in the book around some of the mental health challenges faced by Black women, as well as explore how to identify and navigate through what healing looks and feels like. I recently learned that depression rates in the U.S. have surged to record highs, especially in young adults and women. Now, we won't take a deep dive into the research on mental health disorders, particularly major depressive episodes, but I do want to share a few statistics, hopefully add some context to our book discussion. According to the 2020 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, an estimated 21 million adults in the U.S. had at least one major depressive episode. This number represented 8.4% of all U.S. adults. The prevalence of major depressive episodes was highest among adult females at 10.5% compared to males at 6.2%. The prevalence of adults with a major depressive episode was highest among individuals aged 18 to 25. Yes, 18 to 25, and that represents 17%. I also heard in recent news that our teens are in a crisis. 3 in 5 girls reported that they felt persistently sad. 41% said that their mental health was poor in the last 30 days. And more than 50% of LGBTQ teens reported high levels of violence. That sounds like a crisis to me. I first became enthralled by Dr. Zeigler as she was debuting her book on the Good Morning America show, where she was featured as a guest being interviewed by Michael Strahan. He described Dr. Zeigler's book as a powerful roadmap to help Black women find a balance between strength and vulnerability. He further pointed out that African American women experience post-traumatic stress at a higher rate than other women, noting that 8 in 10 have experienced some form of trauma. Here's a brief clip of Michael Strahan's interview with Dr. Zeigler. Let's take a look.
Now with the author behind Nobody Sees the Trouble I've Seen, The Emotional Lives of Black Women. It's a powerful roadmap to help Black women find a balance between strength and vulnerability. Dr. Burnett-Zeigler is a clinical psychologist, and this is her debut. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you so much for being here, Dr. Zeigler. And I got to say, African-American women, they experience post-traumatic stress at a higher rate than other women. You say 8 in 10 have experienced some form of trauma. Why is it important for you to bring this attention to the attention to this?
Indeed. I wrote Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen because there's simply far too many Black women who are experiencing emotional pain to trauma and not enough people paying attention. We're experiencing pain related to unresolved family trauma, the suffering that comes with the racism and discrimination that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, being denied opportunities that we know are rightfully ours, and simply the pressure of having to do it all, carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And we're holding this pain on the inside. We're holding it on the inside like a ticking time bomb, but it's really eating away at us. It's causing emotional suffering, mental health problems, physical health problems. And we know that stress and trauma are literally reducing the years of life of Black women, as Black women have a lower life expectancy than white women. And through this book, I wanted to raise awareness to that, to show the other side of strong Black women and provide that roadmap to healing, to let Black women know that there is healing and coping from all of the trauma that we've endured.
But Dr. Zeigler, sometimes people don't even recognize the symptoms of trauma within themselves. But what are some of the warning signs?
Sure, trauma can show up in so many different ways in different people. And through the book, I try to show the different ways that trauma can show itself. It can be intense anxiety and worry about going out into the world, making it difficult to leave the home, making it difficult to trust in other people because we don't know who's going to cause us harm. We never know when the next bad thing is going to happen. Trauma can show up in our bodies, tightness and tension in the shoulders, shortness of breath, discomfort in our bellies, shaking, stomach aches. Signs of trauma can be depression, feelings of hopelessness and worthlessness because time after time after time, bad things continue to happen to us. And so it can show up in a variety of different ways. And I hope that through this book, people can start to take a self-assessment and see how trauma might be showing up in their own lives.
And a big part of what you preach is self-care. So what are some everyday self-care practices that people could do?
Self-care is so important, especially for Black women who tend to deprioritize our own needs in service of others. And so to start, we have to make ourselves a priority. Our mental health, our physical health is urgent. We need to be well, and the world needs us to be well. We have to practice forgiveness. There's so much shame and self-blame about the things the unfair hand that life has dealt to us, that we have to begin to start to let a lot of that go. In order to prioritize ourselves, we have to set clear boundaries. We have to put ourselves first, and that often means saying no to other people. And most importantly, we have to open ourselves up to the community of support that's around us. So often, we keep our pain and suffering on the inside, denying ourselves the people that are there to support us, that are there to give us comfort in cheering us on. And when we're vulnerable, when we let people know what we're going through, we open ourselves up to the love and support that is around us.
Dr. Zeigler, thank you so much this morning. Very important message and a very important book. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen is out today.
To help us have a more fruitful and robust dialogue, we ask the CATT listeners to email us their comments and/or feedback around some of the chapters that resonated with them. We also received a lot of comments on Facebook, YouTube, and our CATT website from some of our long-standing CATT followers. And in our time together today, the ladies around the table are going to try to uplift and incorporate some of those comments as we focus on highlighting some of those things from some of the chapters that resonated with us. There seemed to have been a lot of focus in particular around Chapter 1, Strong Black Women, Chapter 2, On My Last Nerve, and Chapter 15, Self-Care is Not Selfish. The titles alone does it for me. I mean, I have to say that in general, just reading the chapters and seeing how they correlated with each other evoked a lot of emotion and feelings of validation about my own experiences and those that have been shared by family, friends, and colleagues. There were a lot of wows and aha moments and things of that nature. So ladies, let's get started. Please share with our viewers and listeners what resonated with you from the book and why, as well as if there are problem-focused strategies and tools that they shared at the end of the chapters were helpful and roads towards healing. Okay, ladies, it's all yours.
I guess I'll go ahead and jump in. The entire book is just truly very eye-opener, as well as confirming with some of the things that we've experienced and what we know is true today for us being Black women. And one of the things that I kind of honed in was Chapter 2, On My Last Nerve. And I guess more so being in the workforce of why it resonated with me, because we often, me in particular, become challenged with always trying to prove myself. And being in a government environment where it's not so many faces that look like me as I'm trying to climb the ladder. Some of the things that she pointed out in the book really resonated with me. And I'd like to share a section on page 26 of her book where it talks about we're expected to always say yes and appear friendly and eager. And if we don't, we risk being labeled angry or not a team player, and we're left feeling alienated. And then I thought about, wow, with me being a mom of two daughters and them two being Black African American and coming into the workforce, knowing the mental issues that was raised and uplifted in this book. How do you balance and have those conversations with someone who's a young Black teen in the workforce, entering into the workforce, knowing that these issues are present? And it's part of the culture, unfortunately. How do you have those difficult conversations and encourage and motivate them to press forward? And so one of the things that I do like in the book, she doesn't just leave you there. She brings the awareness to your attention, the reader to your attention, but then she also gives you good tools and information of how to handle and manage the stresses that come with that. And one of them is just like what we're doing right now, just, wrapping around each other, wrapping around our sisterhood, talking about these issues, talking about how do we deal and cope with these issues and balancing that. And sometimes it's even just part of that self-care is, turning off the TV, pushing back from the things that the day-to-day minutia, finding time just for you, being okay with saying, hey, I can't do it, not right now, and being kind to yourself and setting boundaries. That was one of the things that I really, really love, because we get so busy, right? And we got to set the boundaries. And so I love the book. I love every single thing that she uplifted and brought out of what we experience as Black women, particularly Black women. And so, we just got to keep it pushing.
You know, it's interesting that you lift that particular point of arena in the book around on my last nerve. One of
Yeah.
the things I would like to lift up too, want to read it too, because I don't want to get it wrong. It says, in the workplace, we also wrestle with stereotype threat, the fear of confirming negative stereotype associated with our race, gender group, such as being ghetto, angry, lazy, and not smart. And it also down there in that same on that same page and in that same vein, it says, in an attempt to conform, appear socially acceptable by mainstream standards and control how others perceive us, we may slip into playing respectable politics. Now, you use the term respectable
Yeah.
politics, which means quieting our voice and hiding parts of ourselves and our culture. You know, one of the things that I've heard colleagues say, and just experienced myself as a Black woman and other Black colleagues that have shared, is that your hue becomes what people see and judge you on often. You know, and in spite of your qualities and your character, and as even prominent Black managers, you're still expected to lead, manage, and forge ahead, knowing the levels of biases, implicit and explicit, microaggressions, some of which you just kind of listed and I lifted up, and that privileges that are before you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you're not feeling in a
Yeah.
safe space to express yourself without being labeled that angry Black woman or
Yes.
being unprofessional. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you indicating, I mean, and that is a reality and a culture, and how we navigate that and manage through that is so important. And what we coach and mentor and teach the next generation is something. And then when you look at that part of it, so that's one piece of it. And then that coupled with your generation, like I'm a baby boomer, and you're taught as baby boomers, that highly influential generation,
Yes.
you better show up with your big girl panties on, no matter where you feel, how you feel. It's a lot, and you feel the weight of that. And again, I do appreciate how you lifted up how Dr. Zeigler has shared some tools and things that you could use to kind of navigate and start that road to healing, if you will. And on the flip side of that, I have made a concerted effort in our workplace as an executive manager to make sure that we continue to create a culture of professional self-care. So those are some of the things when we're talking about that balance. And we're intentional about that. We had, as you know, the first one, and then we had what we call recently 2.0, and just lifting up and taking the time to kind of wrap around themes like how practicing self-care will allow you to level up to your fullest work potential. But when you take care of yourself, it allows you to level up
Yes.
in your work environment as well. And how prioritizing self-care is so key was another one that we focused on. And managing your mental health and physical health in a high-paced work environment. Messaging that the self-care is not selfish and those kind of things. And I think when I heard you say, where does it start? It starts with us, yes, in our as a sisterhood, and you can do it with sister friends and colleagues as we're doing. And then how do we lift that up in a professional perspective as well? But thanks for that. I mean, and even just being courageous enough to kind of lift that up so that we have these type of courageous conversations that folks know that they're not alone out there. So I'll pause there and interested in hearing from Lori and Dolores as well.
Yeah, one thing that resonated with me in self-care chapter 15, she said, we must embrace both our strengths and vulnerabilities and give ourselves permission to be human. And rather than everyone expecting us to be superhuman, we're not superhuman. And we have to be human. They have to understand that those boundaries. We have to say no sometimes. We can't do everything. Can't expect us to, and you can't expect to label us as, saying no. I can't do it. Why are you saying no? You're saying no because you're not able to do it, or your race, or don't put those stereotypes on me. I'm human, and that's it. I'm just human. And so really have to make sure everyone knows, when you come to the table, you come to the table knowing that you have to take care of yourself. And you're not taking care of everybody else. You're not holding everybody else up. I'm not going to hold everybody at the job up. Everyone has to take care of what they need to do. I need to take care of what I need to do. And you have to respect me and respect that I need to take care of myself. And we don't see that in the workplace. We see you have to do it, or you need to do it. You're expected to do it. Like you talked about, Cynthia, you're in that position and everyone thinks that, oh, you should carry all the weight, but you shouldn't. I like what she says in the book with those tools. You have to reflect on that. You have to take time to breathe. Don't get upset, just breathe. And then you have to take those mental health days. As simple as that. You have to take a day. I'm not sick. Yes, my mental health needs to be repaired. So I need to take that time.
Yeah. Very good points. Very good points, Dolores.
Right. And, once I read the book, the first few chapters, I felt like my feelings were being narrated to me. There are so many great points in the book. I mean, I can just go on and on and on, but I'll give you one of the examples that resonated with me is that you can go on chapter 197. I'll read from there. And this is me. We start by looking at everything on our plate. And then when you see everything on your plate, you have to ask yourself, you don't have to do it all. And it says, does everything need to be on this list right now? And sometimes I'm like, and I have a list in front of me now of things that I need to do. And after I read this, I thought, it doesn't have to be done right now.
Yeah.
So it says, then we determine which tasks can be taken off entirely and which ones need to be taken care of right now. So it's like prioritizing your life. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I learned, and just learning how to prioritize your life and things that you're doing. You can't do it all. And like, we were saying earlier, sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah. I like the point that Dolores had brought out, because in the book, she has a point that she mentions where we carry the weight of representing, well, not only for ourselves, but our entire community. And that's so true. I mean, each and every one of us can just kind of just take that statement and think about, where we are with our families, with, our roles in our communities, and with our friends, and even at work, and with our church community and so forth. And it's like everyone is looking at us,
Yes.
And so we're carrying the weight of so many people, so many things. And sometimes that's even overlooked of how much is on our plate. And so going back to, what we had talked about, and Lori, you just mentioned, it's okay to say no. Like how she pointed out, it's okay to say no. It's okay to be kind to yourself. Yeah. Be kind to yourself. And we a lot of times we fall short on that. And I just like how she brought that out for us to remember, be kind to yourself, because you got to take care of yourself first before you can even take care of the community.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. And what I did.
And Arena, you mentioned that, and what they say in chapter 1, a strong Black woman has been trained to put the needs of others, especially the family, ahead of their own. And that's what we do. And that tires us out. That wears us out. And we think that it's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. It's not. We got to take care of ourselves before we can take care of anyone else. She makes so many good points. I think anyone who reads this, can find a part in the book to resonate with them, and an experience to go with that particular section of the book.
Yeah.
We can talk all day. We can talk all night. And we,
I mean,
it's the book is so deep.
it
It
is,
is
and
deeper.
just with the number of
Yes.
chapters, and I did take an opportunity to kind of note some of the tips that she talked about as part of that healing process, and and tools that we could use. And they were very simple. Slow down.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how stress may be showing up in our lives and recognize what's happening. And I hear you ladies saying these things as well. And then we feel empowered to do something about it and manage the stress. And how we do it means different things for different people. And some of the things she talked about, being more embedded in your support, taking time to engage with family and friends, and something as simple as just take time to
Yes.
rest. Take time to rest. And of course, always being okay to seek professional health care.
Yes.
And that is okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right.
And I
She,
would say,
she
yeah.
also talked,
Go ahead, Lori.
she also talked about a point, and I've been trying to use one of the techniques that she gave on page 198. It's a technique that she calls stop. So what you do is you stop, you take a breath,
Yeah.
observe, and proceed. Sometimes you got to slow down, before deciding to proceed. Sometimes when your heart starts fluttering or you feel anxiety, just use the technique stop.
That's so true. I was just going to say, Cynthia, I so appreciate you and CATT, Book Club, because I had no clue that this book even existed until you brought it to the book club, and appreciate you just uplifting these concerns and sharing and bringing light to what we need to talk about as Black women, because a lot of times we get so busy and caught up in the day-to-day minutia that we don't realize what we're experiencing. And within itself, there's things that we're going through to where, yeah, that is trauma.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And so she even kind of uplifts some of that in the book. So I just appreciate you just even putting this on the list for us women to read, to say, hey, check this out. This is one that we need to come on and talk and wrap around. So I appreciate you bringing this to our attention.
No, thank you for the acknowledgments, but the credit goes all to Dr. Zeigler. I mean, and that's what she was saying. And you saw that in the video about awareness, and we need to understand what we're going through so that we can come up with the coping mechanisms and strategies and techniques to deal with it. And just know what's going on in our lives. So I mean, that within itself was powerful for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that what we're going through and what we're feeling is real, and just learn how to deal with those things. And then just, knowledge is power. We talk about that stuff all the time.
And being able to recognize, like I said before, before I read this book, some of the things I didn't realize that it was trauma. I've just been dealing with it, thinking, oh, I forgave her or I forgave them and I've moved on. But this just brought up some old feelings that I still was holding on to, but didn't realize it until I read this book. And so I just started doing the mechanisms and the techniques that she thought. Just stop, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And that sometimes you may need to seek counseling, but I just think in the Black community so much that there's a stigma like, oh, if you go to counseling, what's wrong with her? Or what's wrong with him? You don't even want to tell anyone that you're going to counseling, because they think, oh, she must be crazy, or something like that. So just to say, in the book, it's okay to go to counseling.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you mentioned that, Lori, because it brought back to one of the things she said in chapter 2 on My Last Nerve was, and we've heard it so many times, and maybe from grandmothers or big mama, don't let nobody steal your joy.
Yes.
That part. Yes.
Right.
Well, I mean, this is a lot of good conversation and dialogue. And like you all each said earlier, you could go on and on and on, and there is so much in this book. I would encourage folks to read it, to just read it, and we'll revisit it. How about that? So
yes.
I want to also remind our viewers and CATT followers that they can continue to share their perspective, comments, and viewpoints on the book by visiting our CATT website and going to the CATT Book Club Corner tab and submit them in the comment section. So I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing more comments, and just those that we saw, and just it's just an eye opener and so enlightening. We would love to hear from others on this, because we just went over like primarily 3 chapters, and there's how many chapters, lady? About
15.
And look what we have unpackaged in 3 chapters. You're gonna find something in there. So
yes, and it's a pretty easy read, you know.
Yeah,
I read within a week.
Yeah,
it's just you think you're gonna stop and go to bed, but you just find yourself, let me just read one more chapter.
Yeah, that is so.
You find yourself wanting to call somebody and say, "Oh, I read this book," and before you finish, you say, "Oh, and this happened, and it resonated with me, and I remember the time that we did this, or something that happened, or a trauma that happened." So yeah, you want to share the book, and you want everyone else to know what you have found out, that it's okay. It's okay. We have trauma, and we need to know how to deal with it, and we need to know how to focus on taking care of ourselves.
And
it's okay to talk, and it's okay to share. I mean, this book made me, with one of the ladies that's in the book club, we've been on the phone talking about the book, bringing up old times and things that happened to us growing up, and how generational, you just pass certain things on, and you don't realize it.
Yeah. Okay, see, that's like us. We started back up. So
I know.
It's a perfect example. You don't want to close out. But before closing, and as we continue to lift up self-care, we're asking you to submit nominations for a person who you believe deserves and would greatly benefit from a CATT self-care package, as a way of saying your self-care matters and you matter. We will be doing a drawing for a free giveaway of a CATT self-care package, so look out for this special announcement. More information will be sent out to our CATT followers soon. And in addition, you can find some mental health resources on the CATT website. Together, we want to stop the cycle, like each of the ladies are saying here at the table, and break the barriers and the stigma. Do not be afraid to reach out and ask for help. It is okay. If you need immediate assistance, you can start by seeking help from your primary healthcare provider, and even your employer may also offer assistance through their emergency assistance program. So there are resources out there. There are folks that you can contact. Okay. We hope you have enjoyed our first book reading and this episode as much as we have, and we are looking forward to vibing with you in our future CATT Book Club episodes. Please also feel free to share your suggestions regarding our other books we can feature on our CATT Book Club Corner. In closing, we want to thank you again for joining us here at Cynthia at the Table, because we know you don't have to. And I also want to thank from the bottom of my heart once again for being here with me today, my very special guests and dear friends, sister friends, and colleagues, Dolores, Arena, and Lori. I really, truly appreciate all of you. Be sure to join us at the table next time, listeners, and don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Until next time, be safe, stay well, and continue to stay connected. Thank you all again for joining us. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend and a mental health month. Thank you all.